We stick our heads in the sand and pretend that nothing's happening here and just take the Prime Minister at his word. We'll end up with an armada of boats, and that's the last thing anybody wants.
After around 40 asylum seekers arrived by boat in northern WA,
the people who were unauthorised arrivals now find themselves on Nauru, and they will not be settled here in Australia.
Australia's most divisive political issue is back. The opposition today doubling down, accusing the government of being weak on border protection.
We've got to realise that people smugglers are sophisticated. They monitor every word the Prime Minister says, and if they see a vulnerability, they pitch it to the people who are willing to pay money, and unfortunately, it starts then to get momentum.
But the head of Operation Sovereign Borders says the mission hasn't changed since it was established, warning any alternative narrative will be exploited by people smugglers.
Dozens arrived under the previous government. We didn't make it a big deal because we know we're helping the people smugglers if we do that.
Nobody's politicising the issue. I think we're pointing out the fact that the government is making significant errors here.
Operation Sovereign Borders, set up in 2013, is tasked with preventing boat arrivals and has bipartisan support.
The trouble is that the Prime Minister wants Australians to believe there's no difference in the two policies, but he's not telling the truth.
Operation Sovereign Borders is in place, and no one who's an unauthorised arrival will be allowed to settle here.
The government has abolished the temporary protection visa.
These people on temporary protection visas, no, they're on Nauru.
It's clear that they don't have the same surveillance in place that we had when we were in government.
Peter Dutton's arguments are absurd because they don't match what's actually happened.
The PM desperate to neutralise the issue, which for years has been political kryptonite for Labor.
25,000 people turned up on illegal boats on your watch.
Elections won and lost on boat arrivals.
As I can tell you now, you start getting those boat arrivals here, I'd say his government's all but over.
So how will this latest border battle end?
They've ripped a cumulative $600 million out of Operation Sovereign Borders and Border Force. The organisation is at breaking point.
People smugglers want to take those grabs from Mr Dutton and show them to people. That's called a marketing tool. Peter Dutton knows he's part of a marketing tool for those people. I won't be a part of that, nor should he.
Abul Rizvi was a senior official in the Department of Immigration from the early 1990s to 2007. Abul, is Peter Dutton right? Are we under siege? Is Operation Sovereign Borders at breaking point?
I would be very surprised if we're facing, I think, what Mr Dutton has described as an armada of boats. I don't think our Navy is that incompetent. I think they are adequately funded, more than adequately funded, to do the job. I think what we need to recognise is that they're patrolling an area of sea which is just massive. They're patrolling a Western Australian coastline which is huge, and in that sea are huge numbers of fishing boats that look much the same as any asylum seeker boat. And so the possibility that one or two may slip through will always be there. I think we just need to learn to live with that and to stop panicking so much about it.
The opposition is claiming the government has ripped quite a lot of money out of the program, $500 million, and surveillance has been reduced. Do you think that's what is behind the latest boat arrival?
Well, the figures I've been supplied with don't confirm that. They seem to suggest that Operation Sovereign Borders is operating at a level that it has always operated at, if not above that level. So this is a matter of fact that has to be tested. I think we need the government to come out and tell us what the budget for Operation Sovereign Borders is and how much they've spent so far.
Yeah, I suspect it might be to do with forward estimates as well, Abul, but you're right. That should be looked into. I'm interested in the policy difference that Peter Dutton is pointing to, saying that the two parties are not a unity ticket. There is a big difference, and the thing he mentions particularly are temporary protection visas. Does that have any relevance here? Does that make a difference?
Absolutely zero difference. Temporary protection visas were available to people who arrived by boat until offshore processing was reintroduced by Kevin Rudd in 2013. Every boat that has arrived subsequent to that has been subject to offshore processing and resettlement in another country, or return if they were refused asylum. None of them were eligible for temporary protection visas. None of them remain eligible for temporary protection visas.
All right, so that may be true as a matter of the application of the law. We hear a lot about the narrative, though. Is it possible that the government formally repealing temporary protection visas in this way has then fed into a narrative that people smugglers can then use to sell on to potential customers, and that in that way it's encouraged the trade?
If you're asking, do people smugglers occasionally mislead their clients? I suspect that's very true. But I think we also need to remember many of these clients are quite capable of looking up the internet and reading what the policy is. These people are not silly. They are spending large amounts of money to a people smuggler, and they will be wary about paying that money if they think they will just end up on Nauru and resettled in the third country, or if they're unsuccessful, just sent home. They'll have wasted all of their money.
But Australians get very triggered when a boat arrives. I mean, these two arrivals on the weekend, you saw these groups of men from various countries, India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, cuts over their legs as they scrambled ashore. Australians then think, OK, Labor can't keep our borders safe. That's what people say.
Yes, and that's a narrative that stems from parts of the media. There's not a lot that can be done about that, whilst I think one party takes a different view in terms of the rhetoric than the other party, even though their policies are absolutely identical.
OK, Abul, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.